It can be too much to take, holding on so strong when I'm about to break.
Hi everyone! Today I want to share with you an unpleasant encounter that I had with a medical professional just a few days ago. I given it thought, and I think that it's important for me to talk about this experience because it happens too often than it should. And I think nobody should have to go through nor tolerate what I went through. And it was a very disheartening experience that left me angry, but mostly hurt. And it's just a reminder of things that we have to go through, things that people with illnesses like myself have to go through at times. And I want to share with you what that's like. So I hope you take the time to watch this video and learn more about my experience. Ever since I was diagnosed with lupus, I've had to do what you call routine blood work. And what this means is that I have to go to the lab and get my blood drawn every certain period of time for my doctor to monitor my lupus and make sure that there aren't any abnormalities and that everything is going fine. And so I've had to do this since 2008 and have had over 10 years of experience doing it. And I can't even count how many times I've had to do it, but I've done it enough that I've developed an understanding for what works and doesn't work for my body. And in that process, I've also encountered so many different phlebotomists with different skills and different characters. And in that, I've learned a lot of what should be said when I'm getting my blood drawn. And so every time I get my blood drawn, the first thing I tell the phlebotomist is, could you please use a small needle on me? That's what they normally use for me. And that then just carries on what happens next. And, the response to that is always uneasy because I've had phlebotomists give me attitude. I've had phlebotomists be cocky about it and others be defensive because they just, for some reason, do not take it well when I'm asking for the small needle. And unfortunately, a few days ago, that's exactly what happened. I had the phlebotomist give me attitude, be cocky, and be defensive over giving me the small needle for my blood drawn. And for the life of me, I don't even understand why it got the way that it did. And it shouldn't have gotten the way that it did. So basically, I sat down and told her, could you please use the small needle? That's what they normally use for my vein. And immediately she met me with attitude and was like, we'll see. And then I'm like, okay, she didn't take that well. And I'm thinking to myself, like, please just don't let this be a bad experience. And then I took my arm out and she started doing her thing, getting that tie that they normally put on the arm, and wiped my arm, and then had my hand go open, close, as she tried to look for a vein. And then I told her I popped a vein recently, right here in this part of my arm, and it's just healed after 4 weeks. I don't know if you could get blood there or not. Maybe you could check. And she then met me with more attitude and was like, I wouldn't know if I could get blood drawn there or not either. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, are you kidding me? Is this how this is gonna keep going? Is all I kept thinking. And sure enough, it did. And so she said that, and I just sat there, just waiting for her to do what comes next, just hoping it would go by fast. And of course, I'm not surprised. She wasn't able to find a vein right away. And then she had the nerve to ask me, how much water did you drink today? And I told her, I drank at least a bottle and a half of water so far today, because it was in the morning. Plenty of water, considering the time period that I've been awake and was there to get my blood drawn. And, she kept quiet after that because she knew that, okay, she did drink water. And so I'm just like, come on, like, just keep this moving. Because, clearly you're having a hard time. And I already told you just to use a small needle. And sure enough, she did take out the small needle after giving me all that attitude. But then she continued on. She was, with her elbow on her waist saying, why don't we use your left arm? And so at that point, I just snapped and I told her, I never told you to not use my left arm. I figured out of convenience, since you told me to put my right arm out on the right armrest, that you would get my blood drawn there. And so she seemed surprised looking at me when I said that. But it was the truth, she had me put my arm out. It was right there, on my right side. So why are you giving me a hard time and telling me why not use your left arm? It didn't make any sense. And then so she said, okay. And then she kept continuing with her search for the right arm. And then she's like, well, I found one here, but you told me not to go there. The same place where I popped the vein. And so I, of course, told her and snapped back and told her, I told you that I got that my vein popped there, and I'm not sure if whether or not you could get blood there. I never said you can't go there. So, if you feel confident in your skills that you could draw blood there without causing any problem and giving me as minimal pain as possible, then go right ahead. And I reacted this way because the thing is, some of these medical professionals often think that you don't know what you're talking about. They often make these assumptions that you have no clue what's going on and that you're just, they treat you a certain way. And sometimes you have to be more assertive and advocate for yourself. And that's what I've come to learn throughout all these years. And that's why I gave that smart-ass response. And of course she's not going to take that well, but that wasn't even my concern at that point, because frankly, she was already treating me in a very rude and unpleasant manner that shouldn't have been happening in the first place. And so when I said that, she then went for that vein. She went for the vein that actually popped. And, it just seemed forever that this conversation and this experience was going on. And unfortunately, it kept being unpleasant. It did not end there. So right after I told the phlebotomist that smart comment that I made about being confident in her skills and causing me as minimal pain as possible, she then shot back at me and, with her hand on her waist and carrying the butterfly needle right in front of her, said, "Honey, it's a needle. It's gonna hurt you somehow." And so, of course, I'm not gonna take that well, because it it's not almost, she did. She basically made that comment and made me feel like my pain and concern for pain does not matter. And so I shot back at her and told her, I've been doing this for over 10 years because I have lupus. And I've developed some understanding for what causes me normal pain and excruciating pain. So, like I said, if you're confident in your skills and you're not going to cause any problem and be as minimal with pain as possible, then go right ahead. I was infuriated when she made that comment. And, you know, she evidently saw that. It was so obvious. And I didn't care anymore because I'm thinking to myself, you are going to be dealing with me and my attitude with the way that you're treating me. And so then she put the butterfly needle in me, and she was already starting to draw my blood at this point. And I just kept looking around me and, you know, because I just did not want to look at her face. And then she was like, oh, so you've had lupus, huh? And I'm like, yes, I've had lupus for over 10 years. And I've already encountered so many different people when they get my blood, and I go through a lot of pain. And then she was like, well, you must have gone through some trauma to be that way. And she did not say that to be empathetic towards me. She said that as if to imply that you're being a very big pain to me, and I hate, you know, and I have to deal with you because of whatever it is that caused you so much pain. Like, that's basically how she sounded like when she told me that. And so, you know, at that point, I'm like, okay, this can't keep being this way. Like, I have to find some common ground with this woman because I'm seriously gonna lose it if she keeps being this way with me. And so I told her, look, I have nothing against you. And you're right, I have been through something very traumatic, you know, and this is why I'm so concerned with the pain, because I've had experiences that were very unpleasant, and I just don't want to have to go through that. I have nothing against you. And she's like, no, I'm not offended at all. You know, it's perfectly fine. I've been drawing blood for so many years and have had so much experience already with this. And so I'm just like, okay, well, if you've had so much experience with this, I'm thinking to myself, like, you would think that you've developed a way of knowing how to, interact with your patients. Like, geez. But, some phlebotomists, for some reason, they're just so full of themselves. And that's basically what she was. Like, the way I see it, the minute I told her, if you could please use a butterfly needle or a small needle on me, she already took it as some sort of jab at her, and I was asking for that. And, it's just, it was not supposed to go that way. And once again, it did not end there. So then, she was almost done with my blood getting drawn. And, she just kept talking. Like, she obviously loved talking. And she then told me, the vein heals itself. Like, there's no problem in drawing your blood. Small needle, large needle, it's gonna get drawn regardless. We're really good at what we do here. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, when are you gonna shut your mouth, And so I just told her, look, the reason why I asked for a butterfly needle is because I was told by a professional, just like you, by a specialist at Kaiser Permanente, that I need to tell the person getting my blood drawn that I need a small needle because I have very small veins and it's hard to get blood from me. That's the reason why I asked for the small needle. And, she just kept kept going at it. And she was like, you develop some scarring there, but it's really no problem. She's like, your veins, you can see it. It's not like it's invisible. We have cancer patients that come here all the time, and we have to get blood from them. And it's so much harder to get blood from them. You could barely see anything. And that's when she just totally went over the boundary for me. Because at that point, she was then comparing my experience to that of someone with cancer. And she kept it going. She was like, take it from me. I'm a cancer survivor. I know what I'm talking about. It's so much harder to get blood drawn from us. For you, it's not that hard. You're much better off with your veins. And, all I told her was, oh, really? Well, my sister's a cancer survivor too. She had cancer, so I know exactly how hard it is. And she's like, oh, really? How is your sister? And I'm like, my sister's in remission. She's like, oh, that's good. At that point, I'm just like, is it over? Is it over now? Is it over? Can I get up now? Can I get up and end this misery that I've had to go through for I don't even know how long? And then finally she's like, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And then I'm just like, you too. And I just stood up and just stormed out. Wait. No. I actually said something else. That wasn't even the end of it. I actually told her in the middle of that cancer comparison moment, I had actually told her, it's not fair for you to be comparing my experience with that of a cancer patient. They're completely two uniquely different experiences. And then she told me, well, it all depends on the person. Like, that's how she ended that conversation. And I can't believe I almost forgot to say that, because that's such a big part of this video, is pointing out that my experience is completely different from that of a cancer patient. So I know this video was incredibly long. And if you're one of those people who didn't sit through the whole thing, then I completely understand. But if you're one of the few who did, thank you. Thank you for listening to me and letting me tell you what happened. And, I need to point out there that it's not fair. It's not right for a medical professional to make your pain and concerns seem insignificant. More so, it's not right for them to compare you with other patients and downplay your pain just because the assumption is that this person has it harder than you. Additionally, it's not appropriate at all for them to take their personal opinion, their personal experience, and project that onto you and somehow manage to make you feel guilty or, as if you don't have the right to be asking for as little pain as possible. Like, you don't have any right to share your concerns for the experience. And, it's one of those things where I could seriously file a complaint against you for what you just did, for what you put me through. No person with lupus, no person with an illness, person with a cancer, nobody, even if you're in good health, should have to go through what I went through. Like, nobody. I mean, these medical professionals, they're not, or the phlebotomists, for this matter, they're there to draw your blood, listen to your concerns for whatever may happen in that process. And that's it. Nothing else really is supposed to be spoken. Maybe have small talk here and there, but all that attitude, all those smart, rude comments towards me, it should not have happened. And this is what I've had to go through. Not just with a phlebotomist, but with doctors, optometrists, pharmacy technicians. I so many different encounters with people that are quite similar to what I went through a few days ago. And this is why I felt like I had to do this video. I had to do this video because many people don't know what struggles we go through outside of whatever symptoms that we may complain about here and there, or, you know, the lack of things that we're able to do in our lives because of what we go through. You know, people don't know the encounters that we have to experience and how that hurts us mentally and emotionally, sometimes more than the actual physical symptoms themselves. And going back to the whole cancer comparison, you know, if we're going to talk about comparisons, sure, let's compare. Like cancer, I could die of this disease. Like cancer, my immune system has become suppressed because I'm taking chemo drugs just to be able to live as long of a life as possible with the people that I love. Like cancer, I live through every single day fearing for how long I have to live with the people that I love. Just like with cancer, I've had to stop my life to certain aspects. I'm not able to live normally, you know? And that's not just a temporary thing. It's for as long as I live, you know? And the thing is, I may not have cancer. And I know just how awful and bad cancer could be. I mean, it runs in my family. My sister has cancer. My aunt had breast cancer. My aunt died of ovarian cancer. My grandma died of pancreatic cancer right in front of me, and I saw her very last breath, so I very well know how hard it is to have cancer. But never should that imply that just because I have no cancer, that my experience is any less meaningful, any less significant, because it's not. And this applies to anyone who may have an illness and has had to listen to someone tell them just how much their experience does not matter. Anyone who's had to tell them, at least it's not cancer. Nobody should have to go through that. So this is where I want to end my video. And, you know, I guess want to say thank you for my friend Sam and my husband's mom, because, you know, today they actually, you know, gave me encouragement for whatever I had to go through. They didn't know the extent of what my experience was, but, you know, all I had to know was someone basically made assumptions towards me. And, you know, they told me to never let them get to me, to keep shining my beauty and, you know, don't change because of how these people are. And I'll do my best to be that way. It's a struggle, and I've changed so much through the years because of my experiences, but I continue to live my life doing my best to be the best person that I could be, regardless of how people treat me. So for everyone who supports me and encourages me, even in these difficult times, thank you so much, and have a good day. It's not how it went! Damn it! Okay, how am I gonna make this work, Nate? Because this is a long story. This is a super long story. How do I make this work without, like, fucking it up at some point?